Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Inside Steppin. I'm your host, Brian Forbes. For those of you who know me and for those of you who don't. Tonight, exclusive breaking news. We got in the studio my man Nikee himself with the Nikee Experience. So we're going to chop it up and talk about a few things around the Steppers community and see what my man has to say about the things that go on and the things that take place. And we're going to go from there. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Inside Steppin. All right. So, tonight, we got my man Nikee in the building. Mr. Nikee, you want to say hello to the people?
How you doing, everybody? This is Nikee from the Nikee Experience.
All right, and for anybody who's not familiar with Nikee, Nikee is what I like to refer to as a world-renowned, well-known, internationally recognized, locally accepted stepper. One of the best in the game. One of the premier instructors. One of the guys that's giving workshops like he did today here in San Antonio, and let me tell you, it was fantastic. I feel like a lot of people learned a lot of things and took a lot away from that, and I'm real happy with the results of today's workshop. So my man came in and he put it down and did the thing. So Nikee, I got a couple of questions for you, my brother.
Yes.
What was your assessment? How did you feel about today's instruction? I mean, you know, the things you got in today and the people that came out and participated in the workshop.
I think it was very intense, informational, building. We mostly were building because what I wanted to like imply about was the mindset of a champion. And see, what I think is this is a master year. What everybody don't understand is it starts with the foundation. And in the foundation, you have to have this diligence and this mind frame when you frame things that if you have a certain point that you're trying to make or doing this dance, you have to put in the work. You have to put in the time. The time is the essence of this dance, and you got to give yourself time to mature and to grow into the dance. Don't think that me, Tick, Dre, whoever your favorite step is, from Shanice, from Miss Margaret, Dylinda, or you talk about Cynthia Shanks, or different ones, or Keith Hubbard, from even Claudel Jackson, different individuals that have graced that floor, that it happened overnight. I got more no's in the beginning than I got yeses, so I had to work at my craft. So when I give workshops and privates and I teach passionately. I teach from the fundamentals. It's 3 F's. And I actually adopted this philosophy from one of my brothers, Tall Rick. He had mentioned the fundamentals, the flow, and the flair. And I think everybody got this misinterpretation about the contest. The contest does not start the day of when you first compete. It starts a year in advance or even longer than that when you start building the foundation and building up your skill set over time. So when you're doing that, you got to constantly keep altering your dance, working at your dance, but you have to have a mentor to help you evolve your dance. I have many mentors, and a lot of men didn't know they were mentors because when I first started, I really took it seriously, and everybody act like it's just a social dance. But when you compete, I feel like if you dance at the level of your awareness and your understanding, and you come from a place of balance. It's not about first, second, and third. It's about you performing at the highest level and being the best version of who you are. And the reason I can say in that, it takes time to like develop that. You have to give yourself some time to develop all aspects of this dance. And it's different parts of the dance that people have to be initiating or more experienced in the dance, like from walking, learning musicality. So this is where your framing takes place. And then sometimes for different individuals, it may take a little bit longer than others. So it's just, you have to like really, really be able to like weather that.
Okay, well, shoot. That's what's up. So with all of that said, in regard to how a person goes about putting that time in and getting the work that they need, do you feel like, because one of the things that I find that seems to be somewhat of an issue is that a lot of people coming into stepping that are not familiar with the dance or the history or the culture, they come into the game and they really don't have anything to go on in terms of what they should be learning or what they should be doing. And a lot of people have spent a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of money trying to learn a dance, and oftentimes learning from people that are not necessarily the best instructors. You know, you got a lot of talented people who can dance, but they're not the best instructors. And I firmly believe that if you got bad roots, you know, them roots are going to grow a tree that's going to produce bad fruit. So I think, and the people who spend a lot of time, they end up spending a lot of time trying to correct things that are not the way they should be. So do you think that people should take more time, or should people spend more time, should the instructors be able to spend more time directing people on what they should be looking for in an instructor? Should they be shopping instructors? I mean, I know they should, but what would you say would be a better way for those people to seek out what they need to make their dance better?
That's a good question you asked. Me, and I just want everybody, these are my personal opinions. So I want everybody to understand this. When you do have a certain instructor, okay, and what you do is you buy into what the instructor is teaching you and allowing you to do. Now, understand this: when you go about choosing a partner, say for instance, when you want to be a competitor, to me, you got to find balance, a balanced partner. Now, this is how I foresee it. You have to start from the beginning and build yourself up with that partner. I'm not the one that switch partners. If I'm with somebody, I just want to grind with that particular partner. Because I think when you get another partner, only the skilled dancers can do that. But I come from a concept of looking at it like from the NBA standpoint, like certain players on certain teams don't always mix because they're talented. You don't even bring out the best in certain players sometimes. It's certain players that have that energy. It's certain instructors that have that energy or have that curve that allow you to develop your potential talent. Everyone has potential talent. It just takes some individuals a little bit more time. When you talk about females and males, I think people used to seeing the finished product, but they don't know what goes into the nights of the video work. You know, looking at videos of yourself being critiqued, letting your instructor take you dancing so you can see what you look like. So you and that particular instructor sit down and really take the proper cues, precautionary measures, like in going into a contest. I've always taught my students that if you're going to do tricky moves when you at that level, to always make sure the woman's hair is pent up, take off unnecessary bracelets, things like that, so you don't have a mishap. Now, when you use certain music, I've always been the one that went against the grain, did what I felt that I wanted to do and wanted to display. Everybody don't have that same desire or fire like that. They want to stay in that herd mentality, being used in a way where they use the same particular songs. I'm not saying those songs are wrong, but to me, I want to blaze my own trail. So that's what I would prescribe to students that I'm training to be in a contest. Now, I would train them at the highest form, and I would not give them false hope. Like when you're ready and you're not. I wouldn't take any of my students and enter them in the beginning, not mine, because I feel like my students, whoever I train for long term, would not even be beginner status. I've tried that many times. When you say you wouldn't, your students, okay, at what level or at what? See, You got novice. The process is everyone starts as a novice, okay? Then you got some people that have been to other classes that picked up a lot of different tools. So then I use whatever those instructors have applied with those individuals and use that tool and then enhance those tools with what I bring to the table. And I enhance whatever they're at. I don't discredit anyone's instructor because that's not the way to go about it. You know, I will like wherever you add in the dance, it's a blessing. But the thing is, if you want to be pushed to that level, you get on that stage and feel this sense of pride when you step on the stage in the highest form, you should feel good. So you know what I'm saying?
You're not one of those instructors that badmouth the previous instructors.
No. I mean, you know, I'm not saying that to you know slight anyone else. I don't feel the need to do that because for me to bring somebody else down doesn't elevate me.
Absolutely.
And I feel like if you ain't got nothing nice to say, and I hate to be a little bit vulgar, shut the fuck up.
You're welcome to be what you need to be, brother.
Right. I mean, just shut up. You know what I'm saying? Because it don't take all of that. You know, I mean, if you got something to say, I think it's a certain way you do everything. But I take the contest so serious. Any of my partners know I be on it. I'm not playing. Like, I'm constantly working. If I'm not at work, I'm working on my craft, watching videos, making sure that I'm sharp on this and that. So when I go up, I try to give it the best version that I can. And I think when people don't go to that extent, then they get a little angry. But that's just my take on it, of the mindset of a champion. You know, you don't even let people get to you like that if you at that level. You see what I'm saying? I don't let people like really take the wind out of my sail.
So let me ask you this then: Do you think that it's the instructors, or at what point? But do you think that it's the instructor's responsibility to, or even is it a necessity in your opinion, for students to begin to understand the things about the music, the history, the culture,
yes,
and the lifestyle of the dance?
Yes, it's the instructor's job. Now, if you got students that are really not heavy in it like that, the hit and miss students. See, the hit and miss students are the ones that's keeping up all this ruckus. You see what I'm saying? That's how I look at it. Because if you understand the laws of attraction and opposites attract, and you energy is never destroyed.
Right.
It's transferable. So if I'm going to train a student, I'm going to train them at the aspect to be the best version of themselves, female and male, to the point where if anything they encounter on the floor, I would have them prepped and ready. I would have them ready to dance to any song anybody threw at them, to have them prepared. Now, this is where musicality is a really tricky gesture when you're competing. Now, this is what I advise to start competing. Don't look for anyone to validate you on that floor. Do not do that.
I think that's important.
Do not do that. Don't look because you didn't place or you got a bad score that you're a bad dancer. Now, because when you have judges look for different things. You see what I'm saying? They look for different things. So if it's if they judge you from 1 to 10, appearance, originality, synchronization, showmanship, footwork. Now, it's 3 of those categories you should get a 10 or 9. I want to give it, like appearance. You'd have to give up, if you lose the points in appearance, you would have to get up there in a trash bag. You know,
yeah, because we've seen some pretty wild stuff over the years.
Yeah, but give or take, nobody should get no lower score than 9. Now, showmanship can be tricky, footwork can be tricky. You see what I'm saying? Synchronization can be tricky. So, but if you hit all those aspects, and I have heard individuals that did get up there and say, I did all those different things. Now, see, you looking for an outside source to validate you again. I always train my students, look, that's not what we on this about. We want you to be the best version, go up there and do your dance, be the best, and you come off. Once they announce it, it is over. It is over. It's no need to keep talking about who did what with John and all this other stuff. And that is a metaphor. When I said the name John, who shot John, what I'm saying, things like that.
Yeah, clear.
So I just want to be clear. That's not what we about. You can never say, Mr. Nikee, who have I partnered up, we ever did anything like that. We don't do that. Even if we wanted to do that, that's just not the way to proceed because it hurts the credibility of the contest. I'm not discrediting anyone who did that. That's your personal opinion and that's your viewpoint. But that's not how I would train somebody.
So let me ask you this: Do you have any intentions of training any future contestants for the world's largest or any other competitions that might be coming up in the near future? Is that something you got on your radar?
If the Creator God wants me to do that, yeah, I'm really interested in doing that. I'm really interested because I believe the dance culture is going to be big. It's going to be so big that you see how everybody is doing it. Now, the thing is, this is why this master year is a tricky year for everybody, because this is where you can establish yourself now, because the masters now is pulling all the names away from the contest now.
Well, give us an overview, man, of what the Masters is. You know, we got some listeners and people out there who are not familiar with that depth of stepping culture. So tell us about the Masters.
So the Masters come around periodically every 5 years initially, and this is for the elite steppers who placed 1 through 3rd, right? And that means in originality, or the original contest, or new school. Now, if you place in any of those categories, this is your time to be able to display walking and original and new school. Either or. Now this is your chance to be on the stage by yourself to put forth the best version or the best show or entertain to your fullest max. At that max point. Now, if you have not placed in those categories, you won't be allowed to go in the Masters.
And that's at the world's largest, the first placements, okay.
Yes. Now, this what it does is he put a stipulation in: if anybody plays 1st through 3rd, try to any other category outside the Masters, they won't be allowed to compete.
Okay.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, you can call Pete Frazier, the Majestic Gents, or Ronnie Muhammad from the Majestic Gents, and clarify that. But from what I was told, if anybody placed during these last, 5 years, you wasn't allowed to get in new school or original. Or walkers.
Okay. So let me ask you this. This is a point of contention, somewhat controversial.
Okay.
Being from Chicago
yes.
myself, I know because of my own experiences and exposures over the years, traveling to different cities and living in different cities and going home as much as I do, I know that there are a lot of variances in the way people view stepping and the way they handle the steppers community, and the things that, there's nuances and subtleties that people who live inside the city don't get about being outside the city and stepping, where people who outside the city who've never been to Chicago or don't frequent it as much don't understand about the city. What's your take on the differences, and what is there a possibility that those gaps can be bridged a little easier?
It's one thing I noticed, and I want everybody to understand this. In Chicago, we don't call it Chicago Style Steppin.
Right.
We just call it stepping.
Call it stepping, that's right.
Now, outside of Chicago, everybody call it Chicago Style Steppin. Because in Chicago, that's all we do. If we don't house, then we Chicago Style Steppin. It's not a club we go to and frequent that we don't step.
Right.
But we don't call it Chicago Style Steppin. We just say stepping. But if you take that sentiment outside of Chicago, then it could be misinterpreted. This is not Greek stepping.
Right.
When you say the word, they automatically think of Greek stepping. No. That's when they put the Chicago on it to clarify the Chicago stepping.
I've had to do that a lot of times myself, so I definitely get it. Okay, so let me ask you this. So for the future, man, what can we expect from Nikee?
Well, for me, the future is really untold. It's going to unfold as I tend to this process and this journey, because I don't know what endeavors that I have out. It's just a lot of different opportunities are being presented to me. I'm just so grateful and thankful for all the promoters and different ones that are reaching out. Thank you so very much. I really appreciate it, and I just want to keep promoting and teaching this valuable, beautiful entity that we call Chicago Style Steppin. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to understand it's different versions of stepping, okay? And you might get it misunderstood when you hear man on man. That is one version of stepping, like walking and anything else that we actually apply in the dance. So what we're teaching is the more closer that it originated from the bop, the slow bop, Miss Black Mary, you know, Sam Chapman, different ones. Like again, I say from Claudel, from Keith Hubbard, from like Pete Frazier, different ones. And these names I'm mentioning because these are more the recognized names that a lot of, you know, the viewers will know. Or Angie Fame, or Tickman, Doc Chase. I could just keep going down and down. Now those steppers are what you call the steppers that do it from a couple's standpoint.
Right.
Now man on man was something that us as guys did, and then the females kind of like learned how to do it too, so they kind of played with it too.
Right.
So we're not discrediting that, but we don't use that style as much. Not I'm saying that we outlawed the style.
More of a showcase.
Right. It's a more like a time we get together and we get together and we do our thing.
Set, yeah.
Right. So, but we're not going to negate, but the dance is constantly evolving, and by its evolution, that's when it became more mainstream.
Right.
So not to slight where it came from, because we know who the pioneers were from, you know, Lil Alpha, Lil Mike, from Taboo, from Lady Taboo, from the different ones, Josiah, different ones. Like even I look at Tick is the pioneer, one of our pioneers, and Royce and Westside and Drew, because you got to understand, everybody got a time and a turn. And that's one of my elders, Tony Dow, had told me, everybody got a time and turn. And sometimes it might not be your time, but it's their turn. So I feel like even in the NBA, everybody do this dispute about LeBron, Kobe, and all this. Everybody got their era. Do you understand that?
They did their thing in their
They
time.
did their thing in their era. They talk about who was the winners and all that. That's relative to who you talk to in those eras.
Right.
Because you got some people hardcore that think that this individual stepped the baddest in that era.
Right.
And they feel like that era can match this era. We shouldn't do that, because it's all in love. You know what I'm saying? It's all in, we embrace everything. I'm not one of them ones that don't embrace. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Because I feel like my predecessors helped me get to this point. You see what I'm saying? So this is why I appreciate what they done. But, let me say but, I know that we out here doing what we supposed to do in this dance. Now, if people not staying in their camps long enough, see, I think people get a little bit, then run and think they ready. You see what I'm saying? They run and get,
I think
then
that's a common thing.
they get disenchanted and then run back and say they got cheated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have a question from online.
Yes.
We got an online question from Aurelia Owens. That's
Okay.
my girl Riri down there in Houston. She wants to know, why is Chicago Style Stepping regional different from stepping in Chicago? What's the difference between the people who step outside of Chicago versus the people who actually are inside the city?
You know what it is, and I'm gonna tell you this. When the counting, I think a lot of instructors don't tell their students over a certain period of time to stop counting. Just feel it, because I'm gonna tell you what was missing. And I mean no disrespect to nobody in different cities and DJs nowhere. I'm not disrespect, but you not playing the music that gets you inspired to dance at this level. You know, like us. You know how it's levels to this. You know how you hear your song and you flowing. This is why I talk about the 3 F's: fundamentals, flow, then flair. Could you imagine when you walk and you walking passively with a young lady and then you veer off into stepping? Now, if you can take that same performance and take that to the dance floor, it's a different animal when you compete, because you only got 3 minutes. This is not like when you got all the time in the world, and I feel like that's the stage too. That's what makes it different for me. It's the music. It's like I feel forced.
Well, here, you know, I have my own opinions about what you're saying, because I'm one of those people, and sometimes I guess sometimes it sounds like I might be beating a dead horse, but
Okay.
I'm always concerned about instructors who do not teach the musicality, that do not teach what you're talking about, that feeling, that energy that we get when we dance. because I come from an era where there was no such thing as a count, and we worked off of a pattern, but we worked from what began as the bop and so on. And that's something that Josiah had talked about the other day in our last interview, where we worked from a different set of standards or rules, if you will. Now they've been formalized to the point where it makes it easier for the rest of the world to gravitate toward what we're doing. And I find it, well, I guess my question would be, how do we get it to where the instructors take more responsibility? And this is me speaking, this is my opinion. How do we get to where we make the instructors more responsible for making sure that the students get that part of the dance and not just the 8 steps?
I think the reason we can remedy that pretty simple, as some cases, depending on what area you come from. You got to do the research on your teacher. And you got to see if your teachers are well-rounded. Like, okay, like in basketball, if Dominique Wilkins wanted to teach you how to dunk, if you look at Dominique Wilkins' game, his game was well-rounded to a certain extent. Right. Not like a Steph Curry or a Mark Price. See, when I talk about different basketball, I go deep into it. So, in these cities, what is happening is they're seeing the finished product when they go to events. And they seeing us out here doing it at this certain level. So, what individuals don't like doing, they don't like going and doing the basic training that is required to get you to that point. They become disenchanted, it's boring, they don't feel like they're growing because they're not giving themselves a chance to really, really adapt into the dance. They want the flair, that's what I'm saying. They got the flair too early. It's like
flair without the fundamentals.
Without the fundamentals and the flow, because you got to flow first. You got a fundamental, then you flow. Then you flare. And you notice it's all combination, and it takes time to grow to that. It's just like in the NBA. You got some kids that's probably in elementary, right? They think they're ready to play in the NBA. They can be really, really big and everything and have the moves, but in the NBA is a different animal. And I look at Chicago is our NBA. That is the end-all, be-all is there. I don't care what anybody else say. If you think you got a city, that's why the name is in the name Chicago Style Steppin. Right. Okay. So if you go to the grassroots and see it, and a lot of the old schools, if you ask them, like a Dimples or different ones that come from that area you speak on, it's the same way when you ask your grandmother about a recipe. Mm-hmm. Remember, she said just a little bit of this and a little bit of that, right? Right. And you ask her, what's the numbers? Right. And she'll say to you again, it's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. A pinch of this and a pinch of that. You like, but how much? I just told you a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Right. And see, it came on feel. They just knew what ingredients to put in. This is where stepping came from. Mm-hmm. But now you have the children of stepping, like me. I'm a child, a child of steppers that evolved.
Generations down.
Yeah, a generation that has been spawned from you guys, and now we took the initiative to say, okay, we can figure this Da Vinci Code out. So we use the 8 and the 6 count. Right. So now we use that to standardize it a little bit, but we never told them to revert back, because now you have this pattern to feel and go into the musicality. This is when you see the greatest expression. And I feel like, and let me first send a deep condolences out to my guy Lionel Foots. Now, I feel like everybody didn't give Lionel his just due to me, because when people finally saw Lionel on stage, they forgot Lionel was dancing in the late 90s, getting it in. So they thinking he was clown. No. When he felt the music, if you go back and watch his videos, and he danced the Heartbreak Hotel, you see him go into that zone. Mm-hmm. It's like we in a zone, and you see Steppin' Benny or Sherrod or Dimples, you see them go into this zone, or Shanice them or Maurice or Dave Max, they go into this zone. You see Drew go into a zone when you see the smiling, you see this, or George Macaroni, or you see Keith Hubbard dancing to Tony Braxton. The video footage out here, ladies and gents, to enhance the dance. So when you do think about competing, it's a different animal, to the point they will critique you and criticize you in the same sentence. And neither one is supposed to move you.
Right.
This is why this is a mindset of a champ. It's a lot of people that don't get my dance and don't care about my dance. I don't care about none of that. I know for myself, when I get on that stage, I feel like I'm one of the coldest that do it. That's just how I feel.
That's right. You and every other cat in the club in Chicago, because that's exactly how everybody dance. Like they the only one on the floor.
The only one.
They get it in, baby. So look, speaking in terms of the music, the question, I guess, and this is something else that's been brought up online. There's a difference, somewhat of a difference in the music. In fact, you and I had this discussion earlier, and you were talking about the way you feel when you're in the east of the Rhine versus some other places. When we talk about the music, as a DJ myself, I've learned that I have to literally train my audience to expect, over a long period of time, over a long term, to accept some of the music that are actually staples of the stepping community. So how do you feel about the differences between the music, and do we need to be more unified in how the music flows, or are we so much in the evolution that we're going to continue to watch things change, where we wash away the old and the new steadily coming in?
It's just like when you said on the one podcast we did about hip hop. You seen how hip hop went from consciousness. You had certain lanes. You had conscious. Then you had reality rap, what they call gangster rap. That's really reality rap. You have reality songs, but we come from the R&B era of V103, 106 and 3. You know what I'm saying? Those different vehicles. Remember Video Soul?
Yeah.
With the green eye Donnie Simpson?
Yeah.
Where we would play strictly videos like Luther, Tony Braxton. You see, we didn't have a lane for music that wasn't wholesome. I'm not discrediting that. So when you take a remix, it's only certain DJs that I trust with remixes like that. Like Black Cool, or my boy Mike Flex, or you got DJs like DJ Boogie or Cross. Now those four that's from that region understand when the Mellow Chris's, the Sam Chapmans, Steve Breeze. Let me give a deepest condolences up to our brother Steve Breeze. We have a DJ Trey Nicole. We have DJs, and all the DJs at at someplace else. Now, DJ Casper. So we have a certain platform of music that we listen to. If you listen to the Steppers mix on Saturday nights, you hear a certain genre of music. Remixes are allowed, right? But it's certain remixes. It's only certain remixes we'll mess with. But when you're in the east of the Rhine, you might get 1 or 2 remixes. Then the rest is the straight classics. Now you might get a little bit more remixes at probably Heroes, because it's a little bit more a different energy of steppers. Right. But you do still see the old, and when you see Tina Moore in a zone, or her, the ones I've watched, Danielle, it's a lot of out of towns that are really, really phenomenal. Like Sherry Gordon, you would think she from Chicago.
Right.
Drew, you would think he from Chicago. Even the young Brandon, you would think he from Chicago, because it's a lot of different steppers embody that energy, and they understand. Or Tree, or Gino, just different ones I've been even out west. You have Brian out there, then you have Lauren and Carlton. You got a lot of steppers. Then you got so many steppers coming out of Atlanta. Then you got steppers coming out of the East
Atlanta
Coast.
Showed out this year. They
did well. They did well. You see them feeling their music. And let me give a shout out to the couples that gave me a shout out. We was it was funny. He gave me the shout out. I was down. I appreciated that. The love that he displayed, but he felt what he was doing. And that's the part I think everybody's missing. Everybody's too safe, and they need to be more relaxed.
I agree with that.
Just enjoy the experience, everybody. Just enjoy it. It's not about who plays first. I know everybody want to get their name said, and I know I've had mine said many times. So let me not negate that feeling of exuberance if you do get it called. But then you don't. You go back again. You go back again and again and again and again
until you get it. Now I've heard Doc and Tick say that same thing. because they say that people complain about. And matter of fact, I believe, in fact, Pete Frazier and I had this conversation where we talked about the different people when they came into the world's largest and didn't get their shot. And they talked about how Tick and them and a few of them other cats competed several times, and it took them a while to get the game down. And a lot of people think just because you jump up there and you can dance and you don't place, then it's a problem. They had to get past them cats.
You know what they need to do? You got to pay your dues. You either pay your dues or you don't. You got to pay your dues.
And you're going to keep doing it again and again, like you said.
Don't let me, Tick, Dre, anybody you think that at the top of the food chain right now that we didn't pay our dues. All of us didn't place before. All of us. But it's all in how you conduct yourself. You just got, but they kept grinding. Then when their time came, you seen how it, and see, to throne them, you got to go at them. Like, I've always been the one, I ain't never shy to be on stage with none of them. I love all of them because they going to bring the best out of me. Like, I'm going to bring the best out of them. They know we get on that stage, it's going, people want to see that. It's entertaining.
Right.
So when you see the greats get up there together, because it's like now you're seeing it's kind of thinning out, and it's time for the new generation to step up. Yeah. This is what I'm telling all the ones that are ready to take it on. Move out. They will move out the way.
Step up.
Because see, understand, you know what's going to stop it? That stops everybody. It's called father time and mother time.
Don't play no games.
Don't play no games. Now, if you think you can get up there and like, everybody can talk that Michael Jordan. Like, Michael Jordan is alive right now. And if he really think he want to prove his point, he already know. And if he lace him up and try to play now, it's not the same.
Over the top of him.
Right.
Yeah.
So, understand this. You should be honored if you on stage with them individuals. But a lot of people don't attack it from that point. They attack it like they got to outdo them. No, do you. You and your partner. Do y'all version.
All right, well, I got one last question.
Yes.
That I want to, and since we're on that subject, how do you feel about the things that people say in regard to the world's largest being full of politics and people not getting what they think is a fair shake because of the supposed system or whatever? Because I don't buy too much. I don't buy into it real tough, but there are people who just automatically assume and they say things like, it's rigged, and you hear all sorts of stuff. People always have an excuse for one thing or another. What's your opinion about all of that?
You need to come to the Nikee Experience so you can get championship mindset, because you wouldn't even pay attention to none of that. Go back to when it's over. You know what I'm doing? Once they call the names, I congratulate everybody. Me and my partner congratulate everybody, and we're going back to the lab. I'm back at it again. Now, if you complain like that, you shortcoming yourself. What you said, you didn't go up there and do what you're supposed to do. You too busy worried about what the next man and woman is doing. Don't worry about them. Stay focused. Stay laser. When you focus and harness your energy and focus on what you and that person is doing, and you really engage, they know. The judges know when you really dancing and feeling what you're doing. That's the reason why you got to think, if you go back to when they couldn't pick songs. If you go back, because see, Willie Cox those videos are out there when Mary Green was running the contest. You got 5 couples on this, and they just playing random music. They playing music you wouldn't even believe, and they getting down to it. Ladies and gentlemen, go look at those. Now you get to pick your song, and you mean to tell me you can't sell your song? This is a song you pick, and you can't sell it. For me, I
blame it on the judge.
They gonna and then you want to blame somebody else, right?
They gonna say the judges.
No, you can't blame it on them. If you feel like you did your best, then it shouldn't even be nothing should be able to move you.
Well, that sounds like a rap right there. That's what I'm talking about. Well, look here, Nikee, man. We appreciate having you in.
Thank you for having me.
And I want everybody out there to know that the Nikee Experience is something to behold. It's a thing. It's alive. It's got its own energy, and it's a beautiful thing, because one thing I can say, and I've been around instructors and people in this dance community for a long time, and I've seen a lot of things, and The energy that this brother possesses, him and his partner and wife, Crystal, is phenomenal. And this is, in my best opinion, a great experience for anybody, especially beginning steppers and people who are in the stepping world, because it's not just learning the steps. You also taking home an ideology. You're taking home a positive energy, something that you're not going to get from a lot of instructors, because a lot of people just simply don't give you that. They'll take your money, but they're not going to give you what you can get with the Nikee Experience. So I'm sold. Before we get out of here, I'm gonna let y'all know about something. Look here, I got a little secret for you Chicago folks. Y'all know what that is, right? That is a Chicago style sugar cookie, buttered up like you wouldn't believe. Now we got a young lady right here in San Antonio making these, and she got it right. And let me tell you, you can get yours packaged up and sent to you straight to your door, just like back in the day in the lunchroom and all of that. Now I want to show you these right here. See this right here? That is a small lemon cake. Now I gave an event one time and she made these, and I just want you to know that before we could even pass them out, people stole them. I'm serious. They literally, I didn't even get one. They stole them all. Well, anyway, y'all let us know if you want some of them good cookies, because we got them and she'll ship them. And I promise you won't be disappointed. That's for my Chicago folks, because the rest of y'all might not know what I'm talking about. Kind of like when we play this music, this old school steppers music that y'all are not completely acclimated to. It's kind of the same thing. It goes hand in hand with a lot of other things. You know how it is when you're from somewhere and it's something that goes on and you know about it and, you just love it. It's like that. All right. So anyway, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. This has been Inside Steppin'. I'm your host, Brian Forbes. I want to thank everybody for coming out, checking it out, and you have just had an opportunity to get a little bit of the Nikee Experience. When the man is in your city, let me make a strong suggestion. Check him out. Check out the Nikee Experience. Nikee and Crystal getting it in for what all it's worth. All right, ladies and gentlemen, have yourselves a wonderful evening.